Maria Callas. I
Oh,
mean, just her name,
okay.
just makes you think of this powerhouse singer,
Yeah.
the legendary opera singer, this voice that could shatter glass.
Mm.
But did you ever wonder why? Like, what made her performances so captivating?
Yeah.
We're going to do a deep dive into what made Maria Callas so unique.
Okay.
And our source today is an analysis of her personality through the Enneagram,
Interesting.
specifically as a sexual type 4
It's
personality.
yeah, it's really fascinating how much we can learn about someone's art
Right.
when we can kind of understand their inner workings,
Yeah.
their motivations,
Yeah.
their fears. And the Enneagram, I think, gives us
Yeah.
a really interesting framework to do that.
Totally.
And in Callas's case, I think it reveals a lot about the forces behind her
Yeah.
dramatic life and
Yes.
career.
Okay, so for those who aren't familiar with the Enneagram, it's a system of personality typing
Right.
that describes 9 interconnected types, each with its own set of core motivations and fears.
Yes.
Now, this analysis focuses on Callas as a sexual 4,
Yeah.
sometimes called the individualist.
And one of the hallmarks of this type is this deep longing for authenticity,
Okay.
a need to kind of express their unique, often intense
Mhm.
emotional experience, and they're drawn to the dramatic.
Right.
They're drawn to the depths of human experience.
So it's not just a coincidence that she chose a career that thrives on drama,
Right.
opera, with its larger-than-life characters and these crazy stories of love and betrayal and passion.
Totally.
It was just the perfect stage for her personality to shine.
Exactly. And her performances weren't just technically brilliant. They were just infused with this raw emotional power that audiences couldn't resist.
Yeah.
I mean, think about her iconic roles, like Tosca, driven to murder by jealousy,
Oh my God.
or Violetta in La Traviata, a courtesan who sacrifices everything for love.
Wow.
These weren't just characters for Callas. She
Yeah.
inhabited them.
Right.
She poured her own emotional intensity into them.
Yeah. It's like she wasn't acting. She was like experiencing these stories on the stage.
Yeah.
Speaking of drama, Callas's life offstage was just as intense as any opera plot.
Right. I mean, her tumultuous love affairs,
Yeah.
the bitter rivalry with Renata Tebaldi,
Yeah.
all of this kind of feeds into this inherent need for drama that's often associated with the sexual 4.
Okay.
They're attracted to this intensity, to these heightened emotional experiences,
Right.
both in their art and in their personal lives.
But it wasn't just about the drama, was it? There was this magnetic quality about her.
Oh, yeah,
She commanded attention wherever she went,
for sure.
both on and off the stage.
Absolutely.
And this kind of speaks to another key aspect of the sexual 4,
Mm-hmm.
a deep need for recognition, for being seen and appreciated for their unique qualities.
Yes.
But wouldn't that just be vanity then? Wanting all eyes on you all the time?
It goes deeper than that.
Okay.
For the sexual 4, this need for recognition stems from a yearning for validation, for feeling significant in a world that often makes them feel misunderstood or unseen.
Yeah.
I mean, think about Callas's relationship with Aristotle Onassis,
Right?
a very powerful and influential figure.
Right.
Being with him was, in part, I think, about being recognized, about validating her worth
Okay.
in the eyes of the world.
So it's not just about fame or attention, but like feeling deeply seen and valued,
Yeah.
especially by those they love.
Exactly. And you see this need for validation play out in other areas of Callas's life as well.
Okay.
Like her legendary work ethic,
Right.
the relentless pursuit of vocal perfection.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about being good.
Yeah.
It was about being the best, the most unique, the most unforgettable.
But that kind of drive can be a double-edged sword, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, it fuels these incredible achievements.
Yeah,
But on the other hand, it can lead to these intense rivalries
of course.
and conflicts,
You're absolutely right.
like with Renata Tebaldi.
And the source kind of dives into this dynamic, specifically with Callas's rivalry with Tebaldi. And, I mean, the media definitely sensationalized it.
Right.
But the analysis suggests that Callas's competitive nature went beyond just publicity.
Right.
It stemmed from that core sexual 4 drive to stand out, to be acknowledged as exceptional.
And wasn't there another rivalry, I'm using that term loosely,
Sure.
with Jackie Kennedy Onassis?
Oh, yeah. Talk about a high-stakes triangle.
I mean, it's almost too operatic to even be real.
It's crazy.
But again, it speaks to that competitive streak,
Uh,
that refusal to be overshadowed or dismissed.
right.
So we've got this dramatic personality, this hunger for recognition,
Yeah.
this fierce competitive drive.
Yeah.
It's exhausting just listening to it all.
I know.
But there's another layer here, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
The incredible vulnerability that Callas brought to her performances.
Yes.
The way she conveyed this raw emotion, it was just breathtaking.
And that's another hallmark of the sexual four. They feel everything so deeply, and they have this unique capacity to express those feelings, to make them palpable to others.
Yeah.
And Callas channeled this into her art.
Yeah.
And that's why her performances resonated on such a profound level.
Right.
She wasn't just singing, she was bearing her soul.
But that level of intensity,
Yeah.
that openness to feel everything so deeply,
Right.
must have made her so incredibly vulnerable,
Oh, for sure.
especially in her personal relationships.
That's the paradox of the sexual four.
Okay.
Their capacity for deep feeling is both their strength and their Achilles heel.
Right.
It fuels their creativity, their magnetism,
Well-
but it also makes them susceptible to heartbreak
Yeah.
and intense emotional turmoil, often playing out those operatic highs and lows in their own lives.
So with all of this intensity and passion, it seems like the world of opera was practically made for Maria Callas.
Yeah.
It was a perfect outlet for her personality.
You know, the source makes a really compelling argument for that. Opera, with its grand emotions, its larger-than-life characters,
Right.
its inherent theatricality,
Yeah.
it provided Callas with this space to express the full spectrum of her being.
Wow.
She didn't just fit in, she revolutionized the art form.
How so?
Well, Callas insisted on not just singing beautifully,
Right.
but truly inhabiting the characters she portrayed.
Right.
She brought this unprecedented emotional depth to her performances,
Hmm.
setting a new standard for opera singers.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about technical skill anymore.
Right.
It was about conveying the raw human heart of the music.
And she became this iconic figure, the diva, in the truest sense of the word.
Exactly.
Her personality and her performances just solidify that image of the opera diva as not just a singer,
Yes.
but like a dramatic artist,
Right.
a force to be reckoned
Yeah,
with.
true force.
All right, so far we've seen how Callas's personality shaped her art.
Yeah.
But the source takes this a step further with this idea of love as illness, a concept specific to the sexual four that I'm really curious to unpack.
Okay.
So,
It's a fascinating, albeit somewhat unsettling concept.
yeah.
And it plays a crucial role in understanding Callas's tumultuous relationship with Onassis.
Okay, so set the stage for us.
Sure.
What exactly is love as illness?
So it's an idea developed by Claudio Naranjo,
Right.
one of the key figures in Enneagram research.
Okay.
And it describes how sexual fours can experience love in a way that's almost self-destructive, seeking validation and connection, even in painful situations.
Okay. And how does this relate to Callas?
Well, her relationship with Onassis is a prime example.
Okay.
Remember, he publicly humiliated her by marrying Jackie Kennedy.
Right.
Yet Callas remained devoted to him.
Yeah.
It was like she needed his love,
Uh,
his validation, even if it came at a great cost to her own well-being.
So it wasn't just a matter of being blinded by love. There was something deeper,
Yeah.
more psychologically complex going on.
Exactly. Naranjo suggests that sexual fours, due to their deep-seated fears of abandonment
Okay.
and their longing for intense connection,
Right.
can almost become addicted to the intensity of these difficult relationships.
Wow.
They may even subconsciously seek out suffering,
Oh.
believing it's a necessary part of love
Okay.
or a way to prove their worthiness.
That's a pretty heavy concept.
Yeah.
And honestly, a little heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But it does explain a lot about Callas's choices
Mm-hmm.
and her unwavering devotion to Onassis despite the pain that it caused her.
Right. It adds a layer of complexity to their relationship
Yeah.
and to our understanding of Callas as a whole.
Wow, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm already seeing Callas in a whole new light.
And we've only just begun to scratch the surface.
Right.
Let's delve into some specific examples
Yeah.
of how this love is illness dynamic played out in Callas's life.
Right.
Starting with her relationship with Onassis. So to really understand how this love as illness played out, we really need to look beyond the headlines.
Yeah.
And look at the subtle ways that this permeated her relationship with Onassis.
Okay, let's zoom in on those details. I'm ready.
Well, for instance, there are numerous accounts of Callas rearranging her performance schedule,
Cool.
even canceling shows
Wow.
to accommodate Onassis's whims.
She was putting his needs before her own career.
It seems so.
That's pretty incredible for someone so dedicated to their art.
I know, it really speaks volumes,
Yeah.
and it points to how completely she was entangled in this dynamic.
Right.
Callas seemingly derived her sense of worth from a Onassis' approval,
Okay.
prioritizing his happiness above all else.
Which, as we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
aligns with the sexual four's fear of abandonment.
Right.
Like they'll go to great lengths to avoid being left alone.
Exactly. And it went beyond just grand gestures.
Okay.
There are stories of Callas meticulously learning Onassis' preferences.
Oh, wow.
From his favorite meals to the exact temperature he liked his room.
Those little things are so revealing.
Yeah.
It suggests this attempt to, like, mold herself into the perfect partner,
Yeah.
almost erasing her own needs in the process.
It's a classic manifestation of love as illness in everyday life.
Right.
It's not always about the big dramatic arguments or the public betrayals,
Right.
but these subtler acts of self-effacement,
Right.
trying to almost control the other person's affection
Yeah.
through constant giving and accommodation.
It's so fascinating, but it's so sad at the same time.
It is.
Did she even realize she was doing this?
Yeah.
Like, was it a conscious choice, or was it more of like an unconscious pattern?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
These patterns often operate on a subconscious level.
Right.
However, I think understanding the Enneagram can
Yeah.
bring them to light
Yeah.
and help us make more conscious choices in our own lives.
Right. It makes you wonder how all of this impacted her artistry.
Yeah.
Was she channeling these experiences into her performances?
It's highly likely. Remember we talked about how sexual fours, they
Yeah.
feel things so deeply
Right.
and express those emotions through their art?
Uh-huh.
It's almost as if Callas poured her own heartbreak and longing onto the stage,
Yeah.
transforming it into something transcendent.
Like her performance as Medea,
Yes.
the woman who takes revenge on her unfaithful husband.
Yeah.
There must have been just this rawness, this personal energy that the audience really connected with.
Absolutely. Many critics and audience members at the time remarked on her ability to convey such authentic emotion.
Wow.
It wasn't just acting.
Yeah.
It was as if she was reliving those experiences through her characters.
So her personal struggles, however painful they were,
Yeah.
could have been the thing that fueled her artistic brilliance.
It's a complex connection.
Yeah.
But this analysis suggests that Callas's capacity for intense feeling,
Okay.
even suffering,
Right.
was integral to her creative process.
It makes you think about that age-old question. Do artists need to suffer for their art?
It's a question that's been debated for centuries.
Right.
In Callas's case, we see a really powerful illustration
Right.
of how those personal struggles can be intertwined with artistic expression.
Let's go back to Love is Illness for a second.
Sure.
You mentioned Onassis's marriage to Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah.
Which was just a very public humiliation for Callas.
Of course.
And yet she continued to see him.
Yes, and this is where I think we see the illness aspect of this concept most clearly.
Oh, yeah.
Despite the pain and humiliation,
Right.
Callas clung to the relationship,
Right.
hoping Onassis would eventually leave Jackie and return to her.
It just seems like she was caught in this cycle of seeking validation
Yeah.
from someone who was ultimately incapable of giving her what she needed.
That's such a common pattern for sexual fours. They get trapped in these intense,
Yeah.
often destructive relationships,
Yeah.
believing that if they just love enough, they can change the other person
Right.
or earn their unwavering affection.
It's like they're trying to rewrite these tragic opera plots in their own lives,
Yes.
hoping for a different ending this time.
It's a powerful analogy.
Yeah.
And while understanding these patterns doesn't excuse harmful behavior,
Right.
it can help us cultivate empathy and understanding
Right.
for the deep motivations driving it.
You've painted a really vivid picture of how this dynamic played out in public life.
Uh-huh.
But I'm curious about those more private moments.
Yeah.
Are there any specific instances
Sure.
beyond those grand gestures
Uh-huh.
that reveal the depth of this love as illness pattern?
There certainly are, and those smaller everyday moments, I think, offer the most illuminating insights.
Okay, I'm really eager to hear about those smaller moments, those more personal moments that reveal the depth of this love as illness pattern.
Yeah, so there's this one story that was recounted by a close friend of Callas. Apparently, Onassis had this habit of gifting her lavish jewelry.
Oh, yeah.
But then he would often criticize her for not wearing it enough.
Oh, wow. Talk about a mixed message.
Right.
He showers her with these tokens of affection,
Yeah.
but then makes her feel inadequate for not displaying them all the time.
Exactly. It created this cycle
Right.
where Callas was constantly striving for his approval,
Okay.
but never quite reaching it.
Yeah.
It's a very subtle but powerful example of how this dynamic can play out in everyday interactions.
Yeah, it's a reminder that love is illness isn't always about those big gestures or public displays.
Right.
Sometimes it's about these smaller, more insidious ways that we seek validation
Uh-huh.
and try to control the other person's affections.
Absolutely. And in Callas's case, it seems like this pattern was so deeply ingrained,
Okay.
perhaps stemming from her very difficult childhood and
Yeah.
early experiences of rejection in her career.
So it wasn't just Onassis that was triggering this pattern,
Yeah.
but it was her own internal wiring
Right.
that made her susceptible to this.
It's likely a combination of both.
Yeah.
You know, we all have our own vulnerabilities and patterns.
Right.
And certain relationships can either exacerbate or soothe those tendencies.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive into Maria Callas's personality
Yeah, it has.
and how it shaped both her art and her life.
Uh-huh.
And it's so clear that understanding her through the Enneagram,
Yeah.
specifically this love is illness concept,
Right.
just adds a whole new dimension to her story.
It reminds us that even the most celebrated figures, these divas,
Yeah.
are just human beings with their own complexities and struggles and triumphs.
It's true, and sometimes those struggles are the source of their greatest art.
It's a beautiful and bittersweet realization.
Yeah.
It really is, it's a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit,
Yeah.
our capacity for profound love
Right.
and deep suffering,
Yeah.
and how those experiences can be transformed into something so meaningful and lasting.
I had to say, this deep dive into Maria Callas has left me with a lot to think about,
Yeah.
both about her and myself.
That's the beauty of exploring these personality frameworks,
Right.
like the Enneagram.
Yeah.
They offer a lens through which to understand ourselves and others with
Yeah.
more compassion and depth.
And to our listeners out there,
Yeah?
I highly encourage you to check out the Enneagram.
Yeah, give it a try.
You might be surprised at what you learn about yourself and the people you love.
It's a journey of self-discovery, well worth taking.
Well, until next time,
Yes.
keep diving deep.